Imagine you go for a light jog, and after 30 seconds, you are already gasping, heart pounding, regretting every snack you have ever eaten. Now imagine you do not weigh 70 kilos, you weigh several tons, covered in scales, running for your life. The world around you is hot, dusty, full of volcanoes, predators, and zero sports drinks. Question of the day: how did dinosaurs breathe without collapsing in the first minute? Welcome to today's episode, where we turn breathing into a blockbuster topic. We will explore how dinosaurs powered those giant bodies, why their lungs were more like high-performance engines than simple pumps, and we will do it talk show style, interviewing a few prehistoric guests along the way. You just sit back, breathe in, breathe out, and enjoy learning how outclassed your own lungs actually are. Before our guests walk onto the imaginary stage, we need a quick science warm-up. Humans use fairly simple lungs. Air goes in, mixes around. Oxygen moves into the blood. Then the used air goes out the same way it came in. Fresh air and stale air are always mixed together. It works well enough for office chairs, elevators, and short runs, but it is not built for sprinting with a 2-ton skull on your shoulders. Many dinosaurs, especially the ones closest to birds, played in a different league. They had normal lungs plus a whole network of air sacs spread through the body. Air did not just shuffle in and out. It flowed in a loop, nearly one way through the lungs. So fresh, oxygen-rich air was almost always passing through. Some air sacs even invaded the bones, hollowing them into strong but light, air-filled struts. All right, talk show time. First guest, you know the name, you know the teeth. The internet has turned him into a superstar. Please welcome Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Hey T-Rex, our viewers in Europe, in America, and all over the world want to know, with that massive body and that run fast, bite harder lifestyle, how do you breathe without collapsing halfway through the chase? T-Rex answers, I do not run this operation with basic in and out lungs. My system is a lot like modern birds. When I breathe in, air goes into my lungs and into large air sacs in front of and behind them. When I breathe out, air from those sacs is pulled through my lungs again. Fresh air flows almost all the time, like an oxygen highway through my chest, so I can stay locked on a target long after you would be on the ground.
That's the difference right there. I'm just warming up, and you're done.
If he is that impressive, what about the long neck crew? Next, let us bring in a representative from the Super Neck Club, Brachiosaurus.
Hello, Brachiosaurus. People look at that neck, basically a living crane, and wonder, does air have to travel so far that breathing becomes a full-time job?
Brachiosaurus says,
I use the same basic style you just heard from T-Rex. Lungs plus a widespread network of air sacs in my neck, chest, and belly. When air comes in, it does not simply drop into the lungs and turn around. It moves through a loop, with the sacs working like a row of bellows and storage tanks. My lung tissue is smaller than you might guess, but the extra air sacs keep oxygen moving efficiently. The vertebrae in my neck have big, hollow spaces inside, filled by those air sacs. That means my neck is not a stone pillar. It is more like a high-tech bridge, strong but relatively light. If it were solid, every mouthful of leaves would feel like lifting weights. Thanks to this design, I can keep my head in the treetops, eating for hours without spending all my energy just holding my neck up. Air does not get lost on the way. The whole system has been tuned by evolution so that every breath counts.
You can probably see the pattern now. Dinosaurs were not just big, they were oxygen optimized, but they did not all do it the same way. Time to change pace and bring in someone smaller, faster, and uncomfortably clever, Velociraptor.
Velociraptor, you are lighter than our earlier guests, but you move like an elite athlete, running, jumping, pivoting, changing direction in a heartbeat. What happens with your breathing when you are in full predator mode?
Velociraptor replies,
My group sits close to birds on the family tree. I have air sacs, specialized lungs, and a body that helps pump air every time I move. When I run, my chest, ribs, belly bones, and hips all work together like one coordinated bellows. So each stride expands and compresses my chest and keeps oxygen flowing to my muscles and my brain.
Now we move to the herbivore tank division. Our next guest looks like he was designed in a meeting where the only rule was more armor, more horns. Say hello to Triceratops.
Triceratops. With that giant head, broad chest, and bulldozer body, how do you handle breathing in the middle of a head-to-head clash?
We do not rely as heavily on air sacs in the bones as some others. Our system depends on ribs and hips. Along my belly, I have a row of bones and a strong breastbone. Together, they let me change the volume of my chest like a big pump. When I back up to prepare a charge, my hips and chest open and air rushes in. When I drive forward, the muscles of my belly and hips tighten and force air out. My breathing rhythm locks to my fighting rhythm so I can hit hard without losing breath.
Time for one last guest. This one looks like a walking tank with a club on the tail. If T-Rex is famous for his head, Brachiosaurus for her neck, and Triceratops for his horns, Ankylosaurus quietly steals the spotlight with his nose.
Ankylosaurus, researchers say the inside of your nose is like a maze, full of twists, turns, and extra chambers. How does that help you breathe?
My nasal passages do not run straight from front to back. Air has to wind through a series of bends and loops, wrapped in a dense web of blood vessels. As I inhale, the air warms before it reaches my lungs. As I exhale, hot air leaving my body passes over those same structures and hands some heat back to the blood. My nose works like a built-in heat exchanger, letting me dump heat from a heavy armored body so I do not overheat during long walks or battles.
After this round of dinosaur interviews, the picture is clear. Dinosaurs did not rule the planet for over 150 million years just because they were scary. They were masters at moving oxygen. Long-necked giants used hollow, air-filled vertebrae. Bird-like predators ran on turbocharged lungs and air sacs. Herbivores pumped air with ribs and hips. Armor-plated tanks used their noses as climate control. Different bodies, one shared challenge, solved in brilliant ways. And the story is not over. Look up at the sky and you will see living members of this family. Birds are descendants of one branch of these dinosaurs, flying with efficient lungs and air sacs. Every flock overhead is a reminder that this breathing revolution never ended. So here is your question. If you could borrow one dinosaur-style breathing system for a day, which one would you choose? And what would you do with it?